Welcome back to our chilling series exploring the haunted corners of the Empire State, where history and horror intertwine in ways that defy explanation. In this 10th episode of Most Haunted Places in New York, we delve deeper into the shadows cast by ghostly legends, uncovering tales so spine-tingling they'll leave you questioning the boundaries between the living and the dead. From the bustling streets of Manhattan to the serene shores of upstate New York, the state is a treasure trove of spectral stories rooted in sorrow, betrayal, and unrelenting despair. New York's haunted places are more than just locations. They're vessels carrying the echoes of lives lived and lost. These sites bear witness to events that continue to reverberate through time, battles fought on hallowed ground, unspeakable crimes cloaked in secrecy, and the lingering presence of those who refuse to move on. Each place holds its own dark secrets, whispered through creaking floorboards, flickering lights, and disembodied voices that drift through empty halls. Whether you're drawn by morbid curiosity or an insatiable thirst for the supernatural, these destinations promise encounters that blur the line between reality and nightmare. In this episode, we'll journey to some of the most infamous haunted locales across New York, places steeped in lore and fear, where the past refuses to stay buried. We'll peer into the shadowy depths of haunted mansions, explore eerie tunnels cloaked in mystery, and tread cautiously through abandoned institutions teeming with restless spirits. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of New York, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. The Amityville Horror House, a legacy of terror perched along the quiet suburban streets of Amityville, Long Island, stands one of America's most infamous haunted houses, a modest colonial-style home that became synonymous with terror after a series of chilling events thrust it into the national spotlight. Built in 1924, the house at 112 Ocean Avenue initially appeared no different from its neighbors, blending seamlessly into the picturesque landscape of middle-class suburbia. However, beneath its unassuming exterior lay a dark legacy that would cement its place in paranormal history as the Amityville Horror. The story begins on November 13, 1974, when Ronald DeFeo Jr., then 23 years old, committed one of the most gruesome mass murders in American history. In a fit of rage, DeFeo shot and killed his parents and 4 younger siblings while they slept, leaving their bodies sprawled across the beds of the second-floor bedrooms. During his trial, DeFeo claimed he had been driven to madness by malevolent forces within the house, though this defense did little to sway the jury. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment, but his claims planted the seeds of speculation about the property's sinister nature. 13 months later, George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, moved into the house unaware of its grisly past. What followed over the next 28 days has become the stuff of legend. According to the Lutzes, they were tormented nightly by inexplicable phenomena, green slime oozing from walls, foul odors permeating the air, and disembodied voices whispering threats in the darkness. Objects moved on their own accord, doors slammed shut without explanation, and cold spots materialized throughout the house, even during warm winter nights. Perhaps the most harrowing claim involved George waking up each morning at 3:15 a.m., the exact time DeFeo allegedly committed the murders, with the overwhelming urge to kill his family. Visitors and paranormal investigators have since flocked to Amityville, eager to test the validity of these claims. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the basement where DeFeo stored weapons used in the killings. Electromagnetic field, EMF, meters register unusual spikes, especially around antique furniture pieces believed to retain residual energy. EVP recordings capture fragmented phrases like, "Get out," and "Leave me alone," delivered in tones ranging from pleading to menacing. One particularly unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight, capturing footage of a translucent figure standing motionless at the foot of the staircase before vanishing without explanation. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Amityville house continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of understanding. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, the Amityville Horror House offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. The Dakota Apartments, glamour entangled with the supernatural nestled on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, the Dakota Apartments stand as a monument to both luxury and despair. A grand Victorian-era masterpiece whose opulent facade conceals decades of tragedy and supernatural activity. Built in 1884, the building quickly became a retreat for affluent travelers seeking respite amidst the cobblestone streets, an antebellum charm of one of America's oldest cities. With its sweeping staircases, ornate woodwork, and panoramic views of Central Park, the Dakota epitomized elegance and sophistication. Yet beneath its polished exterior lay a darker narrative, one marked by scandal, violence, and untimely deaths. One of the most enduring legends tied to the Dakota revolves around Room 72, said to be haunted by the spirit of a jilted lover named Rebecca. According to local lore, Rebecca checked into the apartment in the early 20th century under the pretense of meeting her fiancé, only to discover he had abandoned her for another woman. Overcome with grief, she took her own life in the room, leaving behind a legacy of sorrow that continues to haunt visitors today. Guests staying in Room 72 frequently report strange occurrences: lights turning on and off by themselves, radios tuning to static-filled stations, and the overwhelming scent of roses lingering in the air. Some claim to wake up in the middle of the night to find their bedsheets tangled impossibly tight around their limbs, as if restrained by invisible hands. Another prominent figure in the building's haunted lore is believed to be John Lennon, the iconic musician who called the Dakota home until his untimely death in 1980. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "Imagine," and "Let me go." Witnesses describe seeing a shadowy figure resembling Lennon pacing anxiously near windows, clutching what appears to be a guitar before vanishing without a trace. The building's basement, once used for storage and laundry operations, has become a focal point of paranormal activity. Employees tasked with cleaning the area often describe hearing chains rattling and heavy footsteps echoing through the cavernous space, though no one else is present. Some claim to see shadowy figures dragging invisible loads, their movements jerky and unnatural. A particularly chilling account comes from a maintenance worker who swore he felt cold metal cuffs snap around his wrists, pulling him backward toward the darkness before releasing him abruptly. Overnight visitors to the Dakota frequently recount bizarre experiences that defy logical explanation. Lights flicker unpredictably, especially in hallways leading to the older sections of the building. Doors slam shut on their own, and the scent of cigar smoke wafts through the air despite the strict no-smoking policy. One guest described waking up to find his reflection in the mirror staring back at him, but not quite matching his movements, as if another entity stood behind him, mimicking his actions. Another recounted seeing a man in a dusty soldier's uniform standing at the foot of her bed, his hollow eyes boring into hers before vanishing without a sound. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Dakota remains a popular destination for history enthusiasts and thrill-seekers alike. Its rich tapestry of human drama, interwoven with tragedy and loss, creates an atmosphere unlike any other. For those brave enough to book a stay, the possibility of encountering Rebecca, John Lennon, or one of the countless other spirits said to roam its halls adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor crosses its threshold, they must decide whether they are ready to face the darkness that lingers within these walls, or will they become another chapter in the building's tragic tale. The Rolling Hills Asylum, shadows beneath the surface. Located in East Bethany, New York, the Rolling Hills Asylum stands as a grim reminder of one of the darkest chapters in American institutional history. A sprawling campus that once housed individuals deemed insane by Victorian-era standards. Established in 1827, the asylum initially aimed to provide care and rehabilitation for its residents. However, as overcrowding worsened and funding dwindled, the facility devolved into a nightmarish environment where abuse, neglect, and systemic corruption ran rampant. By the time it closed in 1972, following widespread public outcry, thousands of patients had endured unimaginable horrors within its decaying walls. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Rolling Hills involves the ghost of Sarah, a young girl committed to the asylum at the age of 6. Historical accounts suggest that Sarah suffered from severe autism and was subjected to brutal treatments, including forced restraint and isolation. Her small body bore the marks of repeated beatings, and she eventually succumbed to pneumonia exacerbated by malnutrition. Visitors exploring the dormitories report hearing faint cries echoing through the halls, accompanied by the sound of dragging footsteps. Some claim to see a translucent figure crouching in the corner of darkened rooms, her wide eyes filled with terror. Others describe feeling an icy draft pass through them, as though Sarah's spirit lingers, unable to find peace. Another prominent figure in Rolling Hills haunted lore is believed to be Dr. John E. Smith, a fictional amalgamation of the many cruel doctors who oversaw the facility during its decline. Paranormal investigators exploring the property have captured EVP recordings suggesting the presence of a male entity whispering phrases like, "Control them," and "They deserve it." Witnesses describe seeing a stern figure clad in a white coat walking briskly down corridors, his expression frozen in perpetual irritation. Some speculate that Dr. Smith remains tethered to the asylum due to guilt over perpetuating systemic abuses, while others believe his spirit seeks to maintain dominance even in death. The asylum's basement, once used for storage and punishment cells, has also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Employees tasked with maintaining the area often describe hearing muffled screams and the sound of chains rattling, though no one else is present. Objects are known to move inexplicably. Tools vanish only to reappear hours later in entirely different locations. One particularly unnerving incident involved a volunteer who swore he saw a group of shadowy figures huddled together in the corner of the room, their faces gaunt and hollow. Theories abound that the basement harbors residual energy from countless acts of violence and despair inflicted upon its vulnerable residents. Modern-day investigations into Rolling Hills' supernatural claims have yielded intriguing results. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, including the dormitories and the basement. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, particularly near antique medical equipment believed to have been used in unethical experiments. Perhaps the most compelling evidence comes from audio recordings, which capture disembodied voices uttering fragmented sentences like, "Help us," and "We're still here." Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, Rolling Hills continues to draw thrill-seekers and advocates for disability rights alike. For those brave enough to tour the facility, the opportunity to encounter its spectral inhabitants adds an element of excitement and trepidation. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its architectural decay or the weight of its tragic legacy, Rolling Hills promises an unforgettable experience where the line between the living and the dead blurs, and the echoes of yesterday linger just beyond reach. Fort Ticonderoga, echoes of war nestled along the shores of Lake Champlain in upstate New York. Fort Ticonderoga stands as a haunting testament to the blood-soaked conflicts that shaped America's early history, a sprawling military fortification that played pivotal roles in both the French and Indian War and the American Revolutionary War. Originally constructed by the French in 1755 and later seized by British forces, the fort changed hands multiple times over the decades, bearing witness to countless battles, sieges, and massacres. Today, its weathered stone walls and crumbling ramparts serve as silent sentinels to the horrors of war, and to the restless spirits that remain bound to its haunted grounds. One of the most pervasive legends tied to Fort Ticonderoga centers around the graveyard, where countless soldiers were laid to rest over centuries. Historical records indicate that many graves were disturbed during periods of conflict, leaving bodies exposed and spirits unrest. Decades later, visitors exploring the site report hearing faint moans and cries emanating from the remnants of the cemetery. Some claim to see shadowy figures huddled in the corners, their faces obscured by darkness, while others describe feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they approach the site, Another haunting figure associated with Fort Ticonderoga is believed to be Captain William Delaplace, a British officer who commanded the fort during its capture by Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys in 1775. According to local lore, Delaplace refused to surrender until the very last moment, earning him enemies among occupying forces. His ghost is said to wander the fortifications, his ethereal form clad in period attire. Guests visiting the ruins have reported seeing a pale figure pacing restlessly near the barracks, his expression frozen in eternal anguish. Others describe hearing faint whispers of commands and battle cries, as though someone is preparing for one final stand. The fort's surrounding woods, thick with underbrush and towering trees, have also gained a reputation for paranormal activity. Visitors walking among the weathered headstones often feel an inexplicable sense of dread, as though unseen eyes are watching their every move. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, disappearing when directly observed. Some claim to hear disembodied voices calling out names unfamiliar to modern ears, believed to be the voices of soldiers buried without proper markers. Others report seeing apparitions of men in period clothing, their faces gaunt and weary, standing silently amidst the graves. Paranormal investigators exploring Fort Ticonderoga have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. EMF detectors routinely spike in certain areas, particularly near the barracks and the graveyard. EVP recordings capture faint whispers pleading for help, interspersed with anguished cries. One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing in the doorway of the fort, its hands raised as if begging for mercy. These findings have solidified the site's reputation as one of New York's most active haunted locations. Despite, or perhaps because of, its grim history, Fort Ticonderoga continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of freedom. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, Fort Ticonderoga offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. Patterns across New York's haunted places, themes of tragedy and resilience as we traverse the haunted landscapes of New York, from the opulent halls of the Dakota to the somber grounds of Fort Ticonderoga. Striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing wards of hospitals to the shadowed basements of monuments, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of unethical experiments, or the betrayed trust of patients subjected to inhumane treatments, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture in amplifying paranormal activity. Historic buildings, with their labyrinthine corridors, thick walls, and hidden alcoves, create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: operating rooms where surgeries went awry, basements where bodies were stored, or wards where patients met tragic ends. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing guests to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted hospitals, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each location's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal medical practices embedded in the DNA of older establishments contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted places captivate us? What is it about haunted places that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lights lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These sites, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to heal us, or failing that, to ease our passing. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. The core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted places exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, health and illness, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted site feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted places contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Long, sterile hallways lined with identical doors create a sense of disorientation, while poor lighting and echoing acoustics heighten sensory awareness. These features mimic the psychological effects of anxiety and claustrophobia, making even mundane sounds, a distant cough, the hum of fluorescent lights, feel ominous. The labyrinthine layouts of older structures, with their hidden wings and underground tunnels, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted places. Media representations, from films like The Shining to television series such as American Horror Story, have cemented the trope of the haunted asylum, courthouse, or battlefield as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about institutional power, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted places become microcosms of larger fears, the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted places appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted places attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted places lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted halls, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged, shaken but alive, to tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through New York's most haunted places to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of New York's haunted places yourself. Walk the same halls where spirits are said to roam, stand in the rooms where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken institutions offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted places, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.